So what we're going to learn today is about factoring trinomials. How many terms are in a trinomial?
Three.
3 terms. How many terms do you need to have to use a rectangle?
4.
4 terms. So what you're going to be learning today is how to take your trinomial, 3 terms, and make it into 4 terms so that you can use the rectangle. And that's where the diamond comes in. So now you're going to have the diamond and the rectangle. Factoring trinomials. This B and this C right here are just representing numbers. What are we missing in front of the x squared? What letter would most likely go there? A, right? A, B, C. So you're going to see a lot of this second semester with all these trinomials. Remember, factoring is the opposite of what? Distributing. So in Chapter 8, Part 1, you were distributing things out and multiplying them and getting these multiplied answers. Now you're taking these multiplied answers and you're factoring them out to get the factors. X squared plus 7x plus 12. Stop and think about all your answers from Lesson 8, not Lesson 8, Chapter 8:1. When you were multiplying out 2 binomials, how many terms were you getting there? When you were 3 in the end, how many were you getting before that?
4.
You were getting 4 terms, right? What was happening to the 2 middle terms in those 4 terms? They were combining and becoming 1 term, right? Okay, you're doing the exact opposite now. What you're looking for is, what were those 2 original terms here that came together to become 7x? Does that make sense? Lots of options, right? 6x and 1x. What else?
5 million.
3x and 4x. 5x and 2x. Okay, there's 3 different choices right there. What you're going to do is you're going to use the diamond to pick the correct choice the first time. Because it's only one of those 3. It's either 6 and 1, 5 and 2, or 4 and 3. Okay, those are the options you've got. And so you're going to use the diamond to figure out which ones work there. And then you're going to use those to get your 4 terms. And once you have 4 terms, you can use a rectangle. Okay, so that's what the diamond's going to be used for. Okay, so our goal here is to break this term into 2 terms, and you're going to use a diamond. The diamond is going to help you to figure out what 2 end up multiplying out to be this last number. That's what the diamond is going to help you with. Has to be the middle, has to be in standard form. So if I have x squared plus 7x plus 12 again, same problem, not a new problem. This is how you're going to set up your diamond. You have this term right here, your first term, and your last term. What goes in the top of the diamond? You're looking for 2 numbers that do what to be at the top of the diamond? Multiply, right? So you're going to follow the same rule here. You're going to multiply these, and those go in the top of the diamond. Multiply your first and last term, you get the top of the diamond. So multiply these for the top of the diamond. So what is 12 times x squared?
12x squared. 12x.
So 12x squared would go at the top. And it's a positive 12x squared, right? Then your middle term just comes down to the bottom here. The sum, because you're trying to find 2 things that are going to add back up to be that. Does that make sense? Looking for 2 numbers that are going to add to be that middle term, but then they're going to end up multiplying to be these two outside terms. So positive 7x there. Put this middle term. Okay, that's your middle term. Every single time, this is the format you're going to follow. Multiply first and last. Those go in the top where you're trying to find your product. Bring the middle down. That goes in the bottom where you're trying to find your sum. Because you're looking for two numbers that are going to add up to be that again.
Is this only going to work if it has 3 terms?
Only works for trinomials. What adds to be 7x and multiplies to be 12x squared?
4x and
4x and 3x, right? Either order. Someone might have their 4x here, someone might have their 3x here. That doesn't matter. So we have a positive 4x, positive 3x. Really important here. This is where the number one mistake comes in on these. And you really have to stop and think about what you're using the diamond for, and then you won't make this mistake. But you have to really stop and think about it. What did we say we were trying to do? What were we using this diamond for?
To get the 2.
To break what?
7.
To break the middle term into two terms, right? So here's what happens a lot of times. Students will see 1, 2, 3, 4. There's my 4 terms. I go plug those into the rectangle.
Nope.
But that isn't the 4 terms. All you wanted to do was replace the middle term with 2 terms. Those are the terms you want. You still want your same first term, still want your same last term. Your middle term is the one that's getting replaced with those. Do you see that? If you were to write 1, 2, 3, 4, you would have first and last term multiplied together. You'd have middle term once, middle term twice, right? That's not what you're looking for. So the way that I try to avoid this is as soon as I write those answers, I circle them. And because we're taking notes and I don't want to ruin it, I'm not going to cross it out, but what I do is with my pencil or whatever I'm using in this case, I cross those out. So I don't accidentally grab them again. I'm done with the top and the bottom of the diamond. So we're going to use the sides to replace the middle term. You're going to use the sides to replace the middle term. So now you go rewrite it, and you have x squared plus what? Plus 4x plus 3x plus 12. And someone else might have x squared plus 3x plus 4x plus 12. That's fine. Doesn't matter. This order doesn't matter right here with these two that you're replacing. It's just going to change where your answers end in your rectangle. That's all that's going to matter. Okay, now you have 4 terms. So 4 terms, what do? Put them in a rectangle. So now that you have your 4 terms, you're going to put them in a rectangle. So we have x squared plus 4x plus 3x plus 12. So what's your greatest common factor here?
A 4.
Positive 4. What's your greatest common factor there? X. And then what's your common factor here? And what's your common factor here? Plus 3. And your answer is x plus 4 times x plus 3, or x plus 3 times x plus 4. If I was to take these two binomials and multiply them out, what should I get? X squared plus 7x plus 12, right? That's how you check your work. You check your work right here in your rectangle, multiply it all out, and then add your like terms, and you should get back to original expression. Does everyone see that? How? All right, example 2. says factor d squared minus 17d plus 42. So how many terms do you have?
3.
3. I'm going to ask you that every single time because you need to get really good at recognizing I've got 3 terms, I've got 4 terms, I've got 2 terms. Get really good at that, you're going to be better at knowing what to do and when. So I have 3 terms. When I have 3 terms, I need to get my 3 terms to be 4. So I'm going to split that middle term up. And the way I'm going to do that is take those. And what's going to go at the top of my diamond? Remember, you're multiplying the outside too. So 42d squared. What's going to go at the bottom? Negative 17d.
The answer is.
Okay. Here's the easiest way to do this. It's easier to look, well, first of all, you always check your signs. So I have a negative here, positive here. What do I know my signs need to be?
Negative, negative.
Negative, negative. So now I know I'm dealing with addition because I'm just adding 2 negatives. You always check that because sometimes you have a positive negative and then you're dealing with a difference. So you always check those. Okay, now I know I'm dealing with addition. Easiest way to do it is to look at the numbers that add. So what adds to be 17 that might be close to multiplying to 42?
14 and 3.
So you could try 14 and 3. If you had tried, let's say,
14, 3.
12 and 5, then you would multiply 12 times 5, and you would get what?
60.
60. So you know you're close, but not really. So then you might go to, okay, well, 12 times 5 didn't work, so what about 4? And then you just start kind of playing around with the numbers till you find it. But does everyone see 14 plus 3 is 17? And 14 times 3 is
42.
42. So we have a negative 14d, and we have a negative 3d. Already had the negatives there, so you didn't even have to think about them anymore. Okay, what am I going to circle right away?
14D. Negative.
I'm going to circle these. I want to see that on your homework tomorrow. Then, the reason I underlined these is because those are the ones that I want to keep. So now I'm going to keep the underlined ones, replace the middle with my 2 answers. So I have d squared minus 14d minus 3d plus 42. Everyone see how we got that?
Totally.
First term and last term are there. Middle term is replaced. Okay, that's why these are underlined. We want to keep those. Those come back down. Middle term gets replaced with the circle. All right, so now we have 4 terms. What do we get to do?
You can put it inside the rectangle.
Rectangle. 4 terms go into a rectangle.
All on the inside.
So d squared, subtracting 14d, subtracting 3d, adding 42. Yes. All right, so what's your greatest common factor between 14 and 42? 14, and you notice you have the diagonal negatives, so what do you know about your negatives? Both are going to be negatives. So we have a negative 14 there. What's your common factor here? D. What's your common factor here? D. And what's your common factor here? If we had just put 3, now when you go to check, what is D times 3? 3D, what do I need? A negative 3D, so I change that. But then I go check again. Negative 3 times negative 14 is positive 42. D times a negative 3 is a negative 3D. D times D is D squared. D times a negative 14 is negative 14D. So my factored answer, this is factored, is D minus 3 times D minus 14. Or D minus 14 times D minus 3. JJ. Factor m squared plus 6m subtracting 27. Okay, try it in pencil so that if you make a mistake, you can erase it. So if you're taking notes in pen, just go ahead and do this one in pencil because I want you guys to try it. Okay, what should I do first with my original expression? I'm going to underline what? The m squared and the negative 27. So I remind myself those are the two terms I'm keeping the whole time. This is the one I want to replace. So now I set up my diamond. What went on the top of your diamond? Negative 27m squared. Raise your hand if you got negative 27m squared at the top. Okay. What went at the bottom? Positive 6m. Now you stop and you say to yourself, opposites, right? We need a positive here, a negative here. How are we going to get a positive and a negative? Plus there, subtraction there. Once you have opposites, now you need to stop and think about what we talked about a while ago. This is actually a difference here. What's the difference of 6 and then multiplies to be a negative 27? 9 and 3. Do you see how important it is to have the 9 with the correct with the correct sign there?
Totally.
Because if you put a positive 9 and a negative 3, you get a positive 6. If you were to have a positive 3 and a negative 9, what would your answer right here actually be? Negative 6. So you have to take the time to look at that. Make sure you put the correct number with the correct sign. So we have a 9m and a negative 3m. And then what do I do right away? Cross the top two off and, or not the top two, but the top and the bottom. Circle the sides, line through there. Now you go rewrite your original expression with your two terms replaced. So what do we have? M squared plus 9m or minus 3m minus 3m minus 27.
I put minus 9m and plus 3m.
Can't do that because look right here. See this? A positive 9 and a negative 3 gives you a positive 6.
I put
If you
negative
had-
9 and positive 3.
I know, and what's a negative 9 and a
Negative-
positive 3 is a negative 6. So you have to make sure you put the correct number with the sign on those. Yeah, it's really important on those because they'll switch this sign. Okay, so now you fill in your rectangle, m squared plus 9m, subtracting 3m, subtracting 27. And now you pull out your common factors. What's your greatest common factor here? 9. Positive 9. Greatest common factor here? M. Greatest common factor here? Greatest common factor here. And now you check it. M times m is m squared. M times 9,
9m.
9m. M times a negative 3,
Negative 3m.
negative 3m. Negative 3 times 9, negative 27. Then I look here. M squared, combine my like terms here. What's a positive 9m and a negative 3m? What's a positive 9m
Positive
minus
6m.
3m?
6m.
Positive 6m minus 27. So that's your checking. You multiply the rectangle, then you combine these terms and make sure they make that middle term the right sign. Okay, if it's the wrong sign, you know you reversed your signs here. They have to be the correct sign. Okay? This is factored. In lesson 8 or chapter 8 part 1, you took these and you multiplied them to get that. Now you're taking that, factoring it to get that. Okay, You're going to try it again, but watch out because notice we have negatives twice now. So be really careful. Remember, you always want to underline these first. That's going to help you remember. What do we end up with at the top here?
Negative 18p squared.
Negative 18p squared, and what do we end up with at the bottom?
Negative 3p.
Okay, how are you going to get a negative at the top? Positive and a negative, but you want a negative answer here. So what's going to multiply to be 18? Difference of 3.
Negative 6 and positive 3.
Negative 6p and a positive 3p, and you check it. Negative 3 plus, or minus 6 is negative, positive 3 minus 6 is negative 3. Positive 3 times negative 6 is negative 18. So now I go rewrite it after I circle, cross those out,
I accidentally put 81 instead of 18.
and now I rewrite it. P squared plus 3p minus 6p minus 18. And that's going to go into my rectangle. P squared plus 3p minus 6p minus 18. And I know I'm going kind of fast to this one, but you should be getting the feel for it by now. Okay, so what is our common factor here? 3. What's our common factor here? And we have one more example, and I know the bell's going to ring, but you're just going to have to stay for a minute. P and negative 6. And I already know this is right, but you would check it. Okay, and now our answer is P plus 3 times P minus 6. H squared subtracting 4HK subtracting 77K squared. Okay, what's different? Two variables. You don't change your rules. Don't change your rules. Do what you know how to do. So underline first and last term and do what to those? Multiply them. So what do you get at the top? Negative 77h squared k squared. Okay. What do you get at the bottom?
Negative 4hk.
Okay, you're not changing your rules. Same rules. We have a negative at the top, negative at the bottom. What do we know about our signs? Positive and a negative. What's going to multiply to be 77 but difference of 4?
11 and 4.
11 and 7, right? Which one needs to be positive?
7.
7 is the positive. 7 what? HK, because you always use what this bottom term is. And then negative 11, HK. Circle, circle, cross out, cross out. I'm not going to cross them out so you see them. Okay, then you have your rectangle. And you rewrite it. H squared and then plus 7HK minus 11HK minus 77K squared. Those are my 4 terms I'm going to plug in. Everyone see that? Oh, so now you plug it in, H squared plus 7HK minus 11HK minus 77K squared, and you pull out common factors. What's your common factor here? 7K. What's your common factor here? H. Oh, you're just on the wrong one. And then what's your common factor here? H. And then what's your common factor here? Negative 11K. And you check that because they should all multiply. H minus 11K times H plus 7K